Hey everybody, this is Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 19 playthrough with the Phillies. We should be on episode 7, I believe. And this episode, we're going to try to make a run for the playoffs. And I say try because a lot has really happened, as it always does, since that last episode. And mainly it's been a combination of a couple things. For us, our pitching has collapsed. There's no way around it. That starting rotation is really not performing well. And Washington has just been on fire. You can see they are now 2 games above us, but that's the closest it's been in the last month of play. And right now we are at September 16th, so we got exactly 20 games left to play. Looking at the standings, we've kind of got on a run right now to even get back close to Washington, but Washington has really just put together some great play. Let me see if I can get to their schedule here just real quick. I haven't really even looked at how good that they've done, but they have been really on fire. You can see since July, 18-8 in July, 18-10 in August, and by contrast, we've been in some ways playing okay. July we stumbled, 13-11, but August was really tough for us. 11-16, just over 400. We've turned it around in September, and I hope it's not going to be too late because we really need to keep playing that way to make the playoffs. There's no question. And our offense, for the most part, has still been okay, but the pitching, that starter's ERA, we're 11th in the league, almost to 10th on a few other statistics there and rankings. So it's only been, at least our bullpen has been solid. Otherwise, I think we would be out of it by now. If you look at the pennant chase, we do have some games coming up. That's the series that's about to start right now. We've got 3 games against Washington at home, and then we've got another 3 against Miami at home, and I think this week is really going to decide it. In terms of just making the playoffs, we're still okay there. We're 2.5 up over Miami, and I guess 3.5 it looks like, or 3 up over Cincinnati and Milwaukee. So we could potentially still make it to that play-in game, but I'd really rather win the division. It's really tough when you have that 1-game playoff. I've done it a couple times before in this playthrough and lost both times, and I hate to come down to that 1 game to decide it. But before we get started on some play, I'm going to go over a few things. First off, I want to look at how the rest of the league is doing, and it's still Yankees and Tampa Bay. They're kind of been a little bit back and forth all season, but the Yankees have been strong enough overall. They may hold on and win the East. Minnesota and Chicago are going to duke it out there in the Central, and then Oakland is starting to pull away from Texas, who really stumbled after starting out strong. They're below 500 and may not make the playoffs. Currently, they're 5.5 out of the wild card. And then in the rest of the National League, Cincinnati now and Milwaukee are tied, so that's been a surprise. Milwaukee not playing as strong the second half of the season. And then San Francisco and San Diego in the West. No big surprise there. I think those 2 teams have been the strongest in that division for the last few seasons. Bellinger, in terms of individual performance, Bellinger's still having a great year. He got injured, and I think he missed 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks. And it looks like he's probably back. He was day-to-day for a couple days, and then he got injured and had to put him on the DL, but I think he's back now. I think he's still probably on pace for an MVP type season, if not one of the runner-ups. The only one who might come close to him is Kinsler in Oakland, who's also having a great season. And then in pitching-wise, DeMond from New York, who won the Cy Young a few years ago, that 2028 season, he might have a good chance of winning again this year. So he's a very good pitcher for them. And then individually on the National League, Devers for me is still leading the league in runs batted in. Salinas in Washington, he's one of their better players overall. He's had a great career. He might be having a career season, on pace for 50 home runs right now. But you can see in his career, he's not yet 30, and he's almost up to 300 home runs. I think Plyler is still leading the league in strikeouts, but the win total is not there for him either. He might struggle to get 11 or 12 wins for the year. It's kind of a shame because he is definitely the dominant pitcher in this playthrough right now, at least for the National League and probably both leagues, really. So one of the things that I wanted to look at, I got some good feedback from a subscriber. I think it was Dr. Thrasher. And he had some advice that I wish I had taken him up on. On that last episode, we finished right before the trading deadline, and I did make some moves. Let me see if I can get to, here's Translate. Well, I don't want to go to that one. Let's see, July. I did make a trade to help what I thought was going to help my pitching. He made the suggestion that Lochtefeld is having a terrible year, and he is. We'll look at the performances here in a minute, but I do need some definite pitching help. I'm still holding out that Lochtefeld will be at least decent the rest of the year, but Mast was not performing well for me, and I felt with Ailman in left, he was playing solid. So I decided to trade Mast away for this pitcher, Juan Vallejo, who was rated 3-star at the time. Close to mid-rotation type starter, was having a decent year for Toronto, nothing great in his career. He's had nothing really outstanding, but that's just a sign of how bad the pitching is. There's nothing out there. There's nothing in free agency or any trade that I tried to make. I couldn't get anything going, and this was the closest that I could even come that I thought would make a difference on the team. And he has not been really good at all. He has picked up 4 wins for me in 9 starts, and I hope he's turning it around a little bit. But he had a decent July, and I think that's probably what got me interested. But since he came to me, to the Phillies, his August was terrible, and he's looking a little bit better in September. He's got 2 wins this last week in his last 2 starts. Nothing outstanding, but my pitching staff is so battered that I had to do something. And another trade that I made was when I traded away Mast, I picked up that kind of left Moya out there. He wasn't doing all that great for me, so I traded him away for an infielder who could play the corners and give me some pitch hit help, some help off the bench. And he's been a good addition to the team. I mean, he's batting .288, just in basically pinch hitting duty. He's 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, so I'm pretty happy with his performance. I think that was a pretty decent trade. Now I just got to make sure that the pitching holds out. And the big thing with pitching is I think it's just been those injuries that I got earlier in the year. If you look at the staff, what it is now, and compared to what I started the year off with, it's not really even close. I've even had to put Alex Kane, I've moved him to the starting rotation because I had another injury that happened, and I just had to go with somebody. Oh yeah, that's right. The injury that happened was actually Mike Farr, who was starting to pitch pretty well for me. He was up to 11 wins, ERA just over 4. but compared to the rest of the team, he was doing really good. Now he's going to be gone for the rest of the regular season. The whole disabled list is full of pitchers. Ketchum, a reliever, 3.5-star reliever I was counting on. Shrimshire, who was going to hopefully be have a good season. Gowdy, who was pitching okay when he got injured, lost him for most of the year. Cantelme, who I was hoping to get some development time in this year. So the whole pitching staff has been really rocked with injuries this year. And then in the lineups, another suggestion that came from Dr. Thrasher, a subscriber, was just to give you guys a look at my lineups and see if there's anything that you might notice might could help me out. I will say I think my offense has been still fairly solid and productive, but the way I usually handle it is, this is against the righties. I go with high contact guys and play that lefty righty split as close as I can for those first 5-6 picks. And I try to bunch my speed up to the top, speed and contact with the first 3 or so batters. And then I fill out the lineup from there. My power numbers usually start in around the 3rd spot all the way to 7. And you can see Vandenhoeven, for instance, he's got 22 home runs this year. His batting average has fluctuated, but I think he's still overall with pretty high walk totals. He's not doing too bad, but he's currently injured with a day-to-day injury, but hopefully it's only going to be minimal. And then that's against righties. And then against lefties, I just kind of use pretty much that same lineup. The only thing is I moved Barge down to batting 8th because he's not rated as high against lefties, and he's really struggled this year too. His average is way down from where it has been in his career. He's at 249. I don't know if he's gonna get much better than that. Although September he's not really doing too good in September. It was July and August when he really struggled, and that was really when we struggled as a team. So I'm really counting on him to up his production for these last few weeks. And those were the moves that I made. One thing that did happen that the subscriber also pointed out was in the bullpen, Berger has really been not good at all, and he got injured, and I'm really starting to worry about this kid. I don't know if he's going to really be dependable enough to use him all that much. And I think what I'm going to even try to do here is he's set up as a middle reliever right now. I'm going to avoid high leverage with him and hope that keeps me out of some trouble. In terms of the rest of the bullpen, it's not too bad. I got some rookies in Bobby Austin and Ben Wright, who I called up, and they've been okay. Mike Stewart was a guy I called up from AAA to help me out. I'm using him just primarily as a lefty specialist. He's got some good ratings against lefties, and he's been okay in limited play so far in September. Corey Line's still doing good, and Corey Line's probably going to leave me this year because I tried to sign him to an extension, and he's wanting way too much money for age and the kind of pitcher that he is. He's going to be 33 in the offseason, and he's wanting about $17 million a year, so I don't think I can swing that for him. Same with Ollis. Ollis has been an okay experiment, but he's not really been a dependable starting pitcher, and I would primarily want to use him as a reliever. It's just the situation I'm in now. I don't really have any choice but go with him in a starting rotation. But if I had my choice, I'd rather put him back in the bullpen. He was much more, you can see just from his numbers there, he was a much better pitcher out of the pen. And he's going to be a free agent this year, and I don't really think I'll re-sign him. He's winning $18 million a year. So if nothing else, I'm hoping these will be compensation signings if they do go to another team, and I can get maybe a couple first-round picks next year that'll help me out. But I think that's about all I wanted to highlight of the team. I think I will, though. Ben Wright, who he's been up for a little bit of time here, but I called him up when the Berger went down and some other pitching help. I think he's got some good upside, but I'm going to use him. I'm going to try to avoid high leverage with him too. But here we go. I'm going to cross my fingers here and hold my breath and hope that we can get through this first week. This is really going to make us or break us, I think, for the season. But let's go ahead and get started and play out this first game at home with Washington. The suspense. We eke out a win, 5-3. Good deal. And Danny McSparron, that's interesting. I tried to trade for this guy. He looked like a promising young pitcher, and Tampa Bay wouldn't give me anything that I had for him. But now he's going to be injured for the year. But let's see how we won this game. Looks like Calvin Smith, Canaan Smith, who has finally started hitting after having a terrible start to the year. He had a good game. Ochoa, whose average is down, he still had, looks like he may have gotten another home run, his 32nd on the year. And Lockfeld had a decent game. 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts. Corey Line picked up his 31st save. So we're now within a game of Washington. And we lose the second one, 1-8. That was a pretty big loss. Elman looks like he had a good game, 2 for 4. But Urrutia, that guy who I've got in the 5th spot in the rotation, who I thought was about to develop into a solid pitcher, his second half has been really weak. You can see July was a stinker. June, after starting really good in April and May, he's really starting to hit the tank. So we're back to 2 games down now with 18 to play. And we lose the final game. It's like a suspension there. Franklin Perez, he's had a good season, but he's going to be out for the rest of the year with injuries. So now we're just half game up over Miami. Ailman looks like he had another home run, but offense was really not with me. And Ollis, again, not a great outing for him. Berger gave up 3 runs. Castro looked bad in relief. If this holds true, and we don't make the playoffs, it's definitely all because of that pitching. And if you've watched this series for a while, you're probably frustrated with me because I have had such a hard time getting pitching help, and I've just struggled with it more than I have in previous playthroughs that I've done with other versions of the game. It's just really hard to come by without really spending a lot of money and then running the risk of getting burned with a high contract on a pitcher. I can't tell you how many times that's happened. You sign a big pitcher. Well, on my team right now, Gowdy is a good instance of that. As soon as I signed him to the big contract, he got injured and hasn't been the same pitcher since. So now we can turn it around, hopefully against Miami, a 3-game series. First game, we lose 3-5. At home, not good. It looks like Vargas was injured, a moderate injury. Ailman, another good game. Barge was 2 for 3. But Kane, really not suited for a starter role, but he's what I've got right now. So see if we can win the second game, and we do 7-1. So we're back tied, and I'm beginning to think that we're really going to start playing for that wild card spot now. Nider had a good game in place of Vargas. Lewis a good game. Barge 3 RBIs, solid game for him. And pitching wise, Vallejo finally gave me a good game. This is the guy I picked up in trade for Mast. So now let's see if we can win the series. And we do. A squeaker, 5-4. And looks like we're at the end of the week. Let's see if we got any award winners here. Top performer, Steve Jones in the American League, National League. Matt Taylor, who looks like he might be a rookie for the Dodgers. And power rankings, we are currently 6th they've been ranking us pretty high in these power rankings when they come out all season, which is good, but not sure we're really playing well enough to get that kind of attention. Lockfeld picked up the win, his 8th, but it wasn't a solid game. So it's really going to come down to the offense. We got a series here against New York and then Atlanta, but we're away against Atlanta. This is going to be, if we've got any chance to catch Washington, this is it. So first game against New York, and we lose 6-8. Lewis had a pretty decent game. Ochoa, 3 RBIs. Urrutia, another bad outing from him. And then Stewart, Castro, and the bullpen just blew it for me. So another game, second game. Let's see if we can win the series. And 6-0, the shutout. And the Yankees have secured their playoff spot. And we are now 2 games back of Washington. Vargas is back in the lineup. Lewis 2 for 4. Devers 2 for 4. Molina, the guy I picked up in trade, he had a big game, 4 RBIs. And then Chris Ollis finally picked up a win. No runs in 6 1/3 with 9 strikeouts. And then the bullpen came in and looked good. This guy Carvente, who's not rated all that great, just 2.5, but man, he has really been a lifesaver in that pen. He's done really well for me since I called him up. 1.24 ERA. Hopefully I didn't just jinx him. So now we need to see if we win this series. It's taken a while. And we do, 5-4. And we're now 1.5 games back of Washington. Toronto out of the playoffs. But 5-4, Vargas, pretty decent game. Ochoa, 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. He had his 34th home run. Kane did not pitch great, but the bullpen finally, they were the ones who saved this game for us. Castro picked up the win, and then Coriolan his 33rd save. So now we're going into this series with Atlanta. On the road, it's a 4-game series. Atlanta has been struggling the second half of the year. They're currently 2-8 in their last 10. They've been eliminated for a while. They're guaranteed a losing season now for the year. First game, we lose in extra innings 3-4. Lewis and Devers did okay for us offensively. Pitching wise, Vallejo, not terrible. He gave up 3 runs, but Coriolan blew it in extra innings. Which is not a big surprise. He's 5-8 this year, so he hasn't been all that great. I'm interested while we're here. Don't mean to just scramble around here, jump around from screen to screen, but extra inning games has been a big problem for us still. We're 4-9. I was interested in seeing what our record was. 1-run games were 23-19, which isn't bad. And you can see we're not doing very well against lefties, but we still played strong in September. And with 3 games left in this series now, we are half game behind Miami for that wild card, but 3 over Cincinnati. We just need to turn it around and finish this series strong. So second game, we lose 4-5. And looks like Mike Farr is probably going to be gone for the rest of the year. And Oakland wins the American League West. Vandenhoeven, a decent game, 2 for 4. Smith, 2 for 4. Lockfeld pitched a good game, 6 innings, just 1 run. But Austin blew it in the pen. He hasn't really been that bad this year. Granted, it's limited. Well, it's not limited. He's been there most of the year. He's had a solid year, so don't want to see him tanking either. So now we got to split this series, third game, and we lose 3-5. I think this is going to blow it. I think that may have done it. I mean, we're down to just about a week now. That may have ended our chance at the division title. Ochoa picked up another home run, but it's that pitching. 5 runs in 5 1/3. Juan Arce had a big game, 5 hits. Arizona out of the playoffs. So come on, we got to win this game. And we finally win 6-2. Riley, a big pitch hit, home run, looks like. And Alice, not a bad game, but, well, 2 runs, but 6 walks. In a way, I'll be glad to have him off the team and I can move on, but thankfully our bullpen held out in this one. Corland now, he's down to 198 on his ERA. He's had a great year. He might be in the running for some reliever of the year consideration. So the Tampa Bay Rays are in the playoffs, and players of the week, Juan Arce in the American League and Juan Silva for the Braves. That may have been why they beat us so bad. Power rankings, we're still 5th in the power rankings. We're just in a tough division. You know, that's Miami and Washington are 1 and 2 for the power rankings. They've been playing really tough. So Miami is now in the postseason, and the Nationals are in the postseason. So I think we've got a good shot at making the wild card, but we've got Colorado now on the road and Atlanta at home. That's how we're going to end the season. We really need to win all 7 games. I don't see how we can guarantee anything less in terms of that division if we don't win all 7. And Colorado, always tough to play them on the road, especially for a 4-game series this late in the year. And first game up, we win 12-6. If you're going to win against Colorado, that's how you do it. Big injury, though, for a pretty promising up-and-coming reliever, Andy Padgett. He was a potential 2.5 star, but he was having a great year. He's at the rookie league level. See the news before I look at that win. Our player development just came out. Shrimsher's taking a hit, looks like. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Well, he's going to be a free agent, so I know what I'm going to do with him. Kane took a hit. Gowdy a hit. Can tell me he's improved in a couple of areas there, but he's not going to be back until late after, well, I think probably spring training or so. Kevin Berger, his potential stuff rating dropped. Bobby Austin, though, took some big improvements from him. And I would expect that after the year that he's had, his stamina went down, but I don't really care about that. His stuff rating improved all the way to 20. So this guy might be my closer of the future. And I think he's got him as a middle innings reliever, but I'm going to give him some closing potential. Aaron Thal, who's my bench player, he got some boost in a few ratings. Ochoa, his power rating went up from 17 to 18. And that is another thing that I did. I've had a kind of a love-hate, but mostly love relationship here with Ochoa. I decided to sign him to an extension. I thought he's a fan favorite. He's got great power, and $11 million is not too bad for a guy in this league who's going to give you 30 home runs every year. So I took a gamble on that, and I think hopefully I won't regret it. I'll probably look at more of this player development as the year ends. So for the month, Mike Pelton was the batter of the month in the American League. Espinoza in the National League, who's had a good year. He's a young guy from Miami who's probably going to be a star in this league. Best pitcher in the American League, Juan Delgado for Oakland. They are stacked with pitching. And then Cecchinato was the rookie of the month. No, wait, I'm sorry, pitcher of the month for Miami. He's having a pretty decent year too. Good stuff, but not a lot of movement. So he's given up a lot of home runs, but a lot of strikeouts. And then rookie of the year, Joey Harding for Texas, and Bobby Van Meter for Atlanta. So in that win, 12-6, it was all offense. Lewis, a good game, 3 for 5. Ochoa, 2 for 5. Ailman, a good game. Kane Smith now has his average at 223, which is way better than he was start of the year. Kane He pitched 6 innings, gave up only 3 runs, so it was enough to win in Burger. Three innings, 3 runs. But hopefully that'll save the pen for the rest of the series. So second game coming up, we win 4-2 in extra innings. Vargas, a good game, 2 for 5. Barge, 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. I think he's still going to struggle to get to 250, though, on the year. And then pitching, Vallejo didn't get the decision, but another good game from him. 6 innings, just 2 runs. Carvente picked up the win. Another scoreless outing for him. 2 innings, no runs. And then Austin got his 5th save of the year. Check the news real quick. And Juan Elman is injured for 4 days. He's a day-to-day for about 4 days. It looks like it's minimal impact, and where we are right now, I've got to go. Got to leave him in the lineup. San Francisco wins the West, and we are 2.5 back now of Washington. And a shutout, boy, that's hard to get on the road. And we're 1.5 games back now, and Miami and Washington are tied. Injuries to report. Chris James, a big guy for San Francisco, that'll hurt them in the playoffs. He's only out for a week. And we secured the wild card. So we're in the playoffs again, but not the way I'd hoped to make it. Offensively, Lewis, Barge, Devers, some good games. And Devers up to 125 RBIs this year. He was a very good signing for me. I like the fact that I picked him up. And Lockfeld, solid. Finally. He got his 9th win. 8 innings, just 3 hits, no runs. Great job from him on the road. And now the last game, can we sweep Colorado? And we don't. 6-7. And just couldn't manage it. Which is kind of no surprise. They had to win one. Vandenhoeven had a pretty decent game offensively. Urrutia, 3 runs in 5 innings. Coreyline, another blown save. Man, so we would have had that one won. He was coming in there to close it out for us. So we're 2 games down, and thankfully we're playing at home against Atlanta, but you look at the standings, Atlanta, they've been kind of on a roll. They've won 6 of their last 10. Miami is hot. They may be hot enough to win it. Let me see how the pennant chase is looking. So Miami closing out at the Mets and Washington closing out at Colorado. I got to say, of those 2 teams, I think Miami might have the better shot on the road against the Mets. But regardless, we've got to sweep Atlanta, and these guys have got to lose all 3. That's the only way we can clinch it outright. So, and at 90 wins, I mean, I think I've only hit 90 wins one other time in this playthrough. I wish that would have been enough to make it or win the division. So here we go, first game against Atlanta, and we win 4-3, but looks like Miami and Washington got a win. Devers was 3 for 4, good game for him. And pitching wise, Ollis picked up his 7th win, but he was shaky. And Coreyline got his 34th save. And news wise, Yankees, they win the division over Tampa Bay, and St. Louis is now out of the playoffs. So here we go, one more. Can we eke out? Can we just get lucky? And we lose, and there it goes. So lose 2-4. Vandenhoeven, pretty decent game there, looks like. But Kane, 7 innings strong, but Morel blew it for us in the out of the pen. So it looks like Washington and Miami now are going to play down to the wire there. Twins win the East, and Garcia gets tossed out in Houston. So here's hoping we get our 92nd win of the year, and we do. Big win to end the year, 12-4. Great win for us. Even though we're stuck in that wild card, it was iffy, I gotta admit. But looking at the game performances here, this sticks out. Ochoa, 5 RBIs. Um, Arenthal, good game. Vandenhoeven, so he's going to finish with a pretty poor batting average for his first full season, but I still like where his development's going, and I think that's pretty good for his first year as a starter. Devers finishes with 127 RBIs. I'm going to look and see if that if that was enough to lead the league. Vallejo, another good game for me. So he wound up getting 6 wins for me after I picked him up. Kevin Berger got the save, but I'm not going to be depending on him too much in the playoffs. So Vallejo, 6 wins since in 13 starts. Not too bad. 139 WHIP. And Washington is going to be the one to they clinched the division on that last day of the season. I wanted to take a look at a few things before I end the episode. Team statistics. So we did, after that shaky July and August, we did turn it around. I mean, September and October we were 21 and 12. Those 2 months definitely put us in the playoffs. Our offense still finished strong. You can see we were top 5 in everything except walks and hits. Led the league in runs scored. I haven't done that since I've been playing this playthrough of the Phillies. Really improved in on-base percentage. That's been a struggle for me for this playthrough. And in pitching, without the bullpen, we would have really struggled, but we did pick up some ground. The starters' ERA, when we started this episode, 20 games left in the season, I think they were 11th or 12th. So they picked up a little bit of ground there. I'm going to take a look at the news and see what's going on. We're going to have to... Kansas City made it, but we'll look at the playoffs here too. Now I got to set my playoff roster. Hunter Green is out. Big blow going into the playoffs if Milwaukee made it. Royals in the wild card. Washington wins the East. Reds are out. Brewers win the Central Division again. Brandon Kinsler finished strong to win that American League batting title. And then Esteban Miranda for Miami. And this guy's only 22. Has an 18 potential 19 contact rating. This guy's going to have an amazing career if he can stay healthy. Great speed. Second year in a row, he's led the league in batting average. So the standings, New York, 3 games up over Tampa. Tampa's in the wild card. Minnesota wins a very tight Central. Kansas City just 2 games back. They're in the wild card. And then Oakland kind of cruised to a win in the West, although Texas, they came back and looked strong the rest of the season. When we first started, they were 71 and 72, I believe. So they finished the year off strong. They might be good going into the next year. Seattle had worst record in the American League, and then in the National League, the Cubs and the Mets really stunk it up. But the Mets, with that worst record, San Francisco wins in the West over San Diego. This is one of the few years San Diego's not going to make the playoffs in this playthrough. Cincinnati came close to winning the division. They haven't been in the playoffs much in this playthrough. Very close Central Division race there, but once again, it's going to be Milwaukee, and they're going to be tough, as they always are in the playoffs. Miami, who we play in the wild card, I'm not looking forward to that because they ended the season really strong. At one point, they were double digits behind us or Washington in that East, so they really came on strong. And then individual performances, Bellinger finished off his year just shy of 60, but he finished with 59 home runs, and that's missing 2 weeks or so to injury. Another good year for him. Definitely, I wouldn't call it a true comeback year because he's always been solid production-wise, but that average, it's been a while since he's hit that high overall, and a 9.5 wins above replacement. He got well over 500 home runs now for his career. The next milestone will be 2,000 hits for him, and he's signed through next year unless there's some kind of option. And there is a player option. He may test free agency. Might be a good idea for him at this point. And then pitching-wise, Kadir Daman led the league in wins for a second time in his career. ERA went up a little bit, looks like, over the year, but I think he's got a good shot at Cy Young again. Nellums in Oakland, a good young pitcher who had a good year. Zach Owenby wound up winning the strikeout king in the American League. And Nellums had a wins above replacement of 7.6. That might get him. I think it'd be close between him and DeMond for the Cy Young. And then saves 40 for Mejia and DeBroke in Baltimore. For the National League, Devers finished off leading the league in RBIs. 47 home runs for Salinas in Washington. He had a good year. His wins above replacement is tied with Royce Lewis with the Phillies, who finished at 7.2 wins above replacement. That's the second time here, at least. Yeah, the second time that he's led the league in wins above replacement. So definitely a comeback year for him. It's a shame that he got injury prone because he has been a solid offensive player and really good defense too at shortstop. You can see his speed ratings. He led the league in stolen bases again. That's the fourth time he's led the league. He doesn't get thrown out hardly ever. Good year for him. So I'm glad to see that. And then Vargas, he got his average up a little bit as the season went on. So he was struggling with that early in the season. I hope he can develop still at 25. I'm worried about that center field position rating. It might be that he would work out better, even though he's got good range overall and the error rating. He might work out better at left. But I've been really pleased with how his career's gone so far. And pitching-wise, Plyler led the league in ERA and strikeouts. Chris Ollis was third in the league in strikeouts. And Ian Plyler, I have a feeling he might win the Cy Young again. He did eke out 13 wins, not a lot, but he's won it before. 28, he won the Cy Young with only 14 wins. So it's not impossible that he could do it again. For his career now, he's got to be close to 2,000. Yeah, he's close to 2,000 strikeouts. And he's only pitched 6 full seasons. So that's amazing, the kind of career that he's had. And then for saves, Mike Moore, who's been a Reliever of the Year award winner 3 times, he might win it again. He had a solid year. And probably a big reason why Milwaukee repeated in the Central. But that's going to do it for this episode. And in the next episode, we're going to get into the playoffs. See if we can't get past Miami and move ahead. If we get past Miami, I think it's going to be a miracle if we can get further, because that pitching staff is just really shaky at best. And I really miss, I'm going to really miss not having Farr right now. Even though he's not a great pitcher, I'm still going to miss him. And I've got an interesting choice to make here, because Schremsher, even though he's missed most of the year, it looks like he might be eligible to come off the DL. So I might put Schremsher in there and get rid of one of these guys who've struggled, like Berger. I might replace him in that lineup. I've said it before in the playoffs, in the previous versions when I did make the playoffs. I still like going with a 5-man rotation in the playoffs. And I know that's not typical, and it's probably not what you would do in a real life situation, but I just feel like in this game, when the injuries start happening, it's just, especially with the bullpen the way I have it set up, there's very few guys who I really can depend on as emergency starters. there were a couple games where Kane looked okay, but I still don't think he's set in that role. Matter of fact, as a starter, you can see he was 2-3 with a 4.38 ERA. I really don't want to risk him starting in the playoffs. So Shrimsher might be a bet, but I'll have to set my offense or set my rotation, and I'll do that offline. And then the next episode we'll be playing out that game against Miami. So thanks for watching and subscribing and supporting and commenting on the videos. Hope you're still enjoying it, and I look forward to that next game when we're in the playoffs, and I'll see you then.